FCCP, Federal Concealed Carrying Permit. If you like this video, hit that subscribe button down there. Helps this channel out. And let me hear your thoughts about it. Now, something I've been working on for some time now. Trying to look at everything. I understand reciprocity is a good bill. It's a step in the right direction. But there are states that are going to fight it. You got New Jersey, Hawaii, California, Illinois, Maryland. You know, they're all going to fight this thing. Well, what if we could issue a federal concealed carrying permit? Now, we have a 4473 that when you purchase a firearm, you have to fill out 4473, and this is in all states for a criminal background check, which is true. Now, states like New Jersey has their own laws about purchasing, firearms, and they have their own idea of carrying a firearm. Maryland has a different one. Hawaii has a different one. Everybody has different ideas how to do these things. Everybody has separate type of applications, so separate this, separate that. What if we could just alleviate all that? Well, that's what reciprocity is supposed to do. Well, let's say we can't get reciprocity through this administration, let's say. So this is where this comes into a play here. Maybe we should look at another alternative, and that's maybe federal law enforcement in Washington, D.C. could issue a federal concealed carrying permit, FCCP. It would be one standard application. You would have your all your information on it, a photo ID, all your training you've taken. It would be standardized. You would have your criminal background check on it. You would also have your mental health check back on it. And whatever your firearm capacity magazine would be whether you have a 15-round magazine or a 20-round magazine, depending on how the gun manufacturer had designed that firearm for. Certain restrictions, federal, state, government buildings. Police departments, schools, and bars. Say bars. Or taverns. And private property. Simple restrictions. The rest of these restrictions wouldn't make a damn difference. Alleviates these gun-free zones. Why can't we do that? Why can't we issue something like that? It's a standard fee. They say $25 or $15 maybe. Good for 5 years. States would have a hard time trying to fight something like that because, first of all, it's not going through any legislation. It doesn't. The President of the United States could sign the executive order to it, but we really don't need to because it's the federal government that's just going to issue this thing. We'll just say they can. If they can't get reciprocity through, it will give you the right to carry through all states, the right to carry the right hollow point ammunition or Hornley, whatever you want to carry, as long as it's applicable to that firearm. Simple. You already been through. You already filled a standard application throughout the United States. It's one application. Different types of applications, different types of states' ideas. You have your regular people that would sign up with you, mental health, background, training. They can't argue with it. States wouldn't be able to fight it because it's because it's standardized across the country. See, each states want to play God here with your rights. Under the Constitution is Equal Protection Act. And another part of the Constitution is discrimination. And we are the most discriminated against when it comes to these Democrat politicians and states, rogue states would say. But it would alleviate a lot of mess. Lots of this nonsense it would alleviate. Does it need to go through the House and then the Senate, and does it, I don't believe it needs to. Now, I'm looking at this from the opposite side of all this. It's like in New Jersey, most states are shall order states. So you have to go through a judge or prove that you need to carry a firearm. Well, there's no legislation there. There's no, nobody had to sign on to the bill or anything. No bill was needed. It went right through law enforcement. Well, why can't it go right through the federal government law enforcement? They were all standardized across the country. There's no this mine's better than yours. No, it's standardized. So if we can't get reciprocity through, which is your concealed carry permit from that state, you have a federal concealed carry from the federal government itself. It would alleviate so much and lift a lot of stupid restrictions and gun-free zones. Unless it's private property now, it could be a store owner, it could be a property owner, whatever. That's totally a different ballgame. It would make a lot more sense. It would. Now, the problem we deal with in these shall order states is they don't believe you should do this and you should have that and whatever. The law enforcement, the law enforcement would set up a set of rules. Now, let's say you are a security guard. This exempts law enforcement, by the way. But let's say you're a security guard off the wall. Your permit would say concealed carry unless you're on duty. It would be armored car or private security. There will be a code in the back of that permit. For regular individuals, it would just be a separate code. Some states would have open carry. Not a problem. It would have in the back of that, whatever state you're in. So, whatever, even though it says concealed carry permit. It would alleviate so much bureaucracy here that it would just kind of like, well, how do I say this? It would put a hammer on an anvil when it comes to these rogue states, rogue prosecutors, rogue ADGs, rogue governors who, for some reason, they can't read the Constitution because it's above their pay grade. Yeah. And it will alleviate these outrageous fees because it'll be a standard fee. Let's say it'd be $25. Or let's just say maybe $50 for 5 years. Not a bad deal. And you qualified. Now you would have that paperwork from your state, from the police, whatever, attached to that application, along with your background check and your mental health check. And it's done right through the federal government, through the FBI. And the waiting time would be far less. Now, states could issue that under that rule, but it's not a law, but don't need to be a law. The federal government, the federal law enforcement moves a hell of a lot faster than state and local police departments do. This will also alleviate that. Say you have to wait in 3, 4, 5 months for your licenses to go through. There's some, not all of them are that way, but there are a few are that way. That would alleviate that. So I would definitely see if something like that could go. I'm pretty sure it could, but that's my personal opinion, because I don't see where legislation needs to have to come into effect with that. If federal law enforcement says we're going to implement this kind of a license, that would make more sense to protect the citizens of the United States. Not just one state, throughout the entire country, including Hawaii, by the way. But if they were to pass reciprocity and issue this, it would be a double hammer. States couldn't even argue. There would be like playing a chess game, and now you're in checkmate. That's kind of like that kind of game. So I would definitely ask your senators and your congressmen to have a sit-down chat with federal law enforcement or the FBI or whatever, and then see if we could implicate this if we can't get reciprocity through, or get them both through. It would alleviate a lot of stuff all of the states. It won't have a state permit, it will have a federal permit. So in other words, your concealed carry permit may not come from Montana or Tennessee or Maryland or New Jersey or California. It will be a federal permit. There will be no questions asked. I would definitely look into your senators. But here's the thing too. Reciprocity is not a bad deal. It's not a bad deal. It's a step in the right direction. There's a lot of, there's quite a bit of protection in that thing if you look into reading it. I was impressed. You know, it sounds like it's going to be a pretty good bill. But you have to contact your representatives. Sit down. I mean, I would say sit down, but call them, have a cordial conversation, and ask them to please pass this. This would really remove this anti-gun minefield that we have to go through all the time. But if they were to push both of them through, one separate from the other, I mean, reciprocity would be separate because it's got to go through House, Congress, had the president sign it. But the president could also sign legislation order for federal law enforcement to issue licenses. You don't need congressional hearings, and you don't need all this legislation and Senate bill and all that. But I would think about it. Call legislation. Talk to them. Till then, keep your friends and family close and do not be afraid to defend us. And think about the FCCP. It might be one or the other, but it definitely would give us something to work with. You take care.